Louise, you've worked with the union since the early 1990s. What have been the highlights of your work with the LHMU so far?
Look, I think the highlights have come with the lowlights in many respects. Over the last 2 decades, I think workers in our industries and sectors and occupations have just been really hard hit by the changes in the economy, changes in the labour market, changes in the laws. And so in many ways our members have been doing it incredibly hard. Work choices came not in the last 2 years, they actually came in the 90s for many of our members. So that was very despairing for union people to see a lot of gains lost, a lot of people suffering real difficulties in the workplace, in their lives, in terms of ensuring that they had some level of economic security. But on the other side, the thing that's quite amazing about LHMU members is that they've taken a lot of those challenges and we've been able to together turn those around. And part of it's been changing the union to cope with a new environment. And I can remember over the last 5 or 6 years some of the delegate conventions and the discussions we've had with our delegates about the need to change the union, the way we operate, our fees. They've been incredibly hard discussions, but members have just stood up and said, the world has changed, we have to be able to respond, we've got to take that challenge on. We might have to increase our fees, we might have to do things differently, we might have to campaign in different ways, but have shown great courage, resilience, and ultimately we're starting to turn some of those losses around in a very substantial way, and that's just really it's incredibly exciting, but it also inspires me on a daily basis that people often with not a lot will put a lot on the line to ensure that the future's better for them, their workmates, but also their kids.
Well, soon after you were elected as LHMU National Secretary, Labor won the first federal election since 1993. What do you think this means for LHMU members and their families?
It felt like the sun breaking through a very dark cloud, I think. It's not a panacea, it's not going to fix everything, and in fact it probably won't fix a lot. What it does is it gives us an environment to make the changes that we think are important. I think someone like Kevin Rudd is, in terms of his values, a reasonably decent bloke. I think he's interested in society as a whole. I think it's a different philosophy than was there under the Howard leadership. So I think there's opportunities, but there's also going to be a lot of competing interests knocking on the government's door with their own self-interest. And so what we've got to do is reassert the values that got voted up in the election at the end of last year. Basically, the Australian community said, no, we don't want this community individualised, we don't want it driven by self-interest, by greed, by creating a very powerful elite and a very powerless majority. And the workplace laws were a very good example of that. And basically the community said, no, we want something different. And so there's a mandate there for this government to really reaffirm the sort of values that the union movement has been founded on, that Australia's been founded on. And so I think there's an amazing opportunity for us to state our case and to campaign for the issues that are heartfelt by us and to change the world.